All right. Welcome to our next episode of Music Musings. I am here, as always, with my co-host, Pat. How are you doing today, Pat?
I'm doing good, sir. How's everyone today?
We're fantastic today. All of us. All right. So, second episode, really excited. We're going to jump in today and talk about the creative process and our own perspectives of how we in the past have created music. And what has inspired us. Now, I know last episode we kind of talked a little bit about our introductions. Mm-hmm. We did brush upon this a little bit, how we record music or create music in general. Mm-hmm. But I think today we're going to take a deep dive and go over, what is going through your brain as you are making these songs, whether it's live music or just working on your computer production. Mm-hmm. What's the process there? Mm-hmm. And then, you're going to talk a little bit today about, music production, the basics 101.
Basics 101. I'll try to make it as easy to follow, which to me now it's interesting because when I first started, just getting through step 1, 2, or whatever was overwhelming and would be challenging. But to me now I have a very good understanding. I feel like I can pretty much break it down to a level where anyone can understand. I can get you at least on the basics, but and I'll always ask, what is your direction? So I know how to send you there properly. So, but we'll definitely talk about that, the ins and outs. I always believe in this beautiful, simple thing when it comes to music production. You got to have fun with it. If you're not having fun with it, why are you doing it? So we're going to go there.
We're going to go there today.
We're going to go there.
We're going there today, folks. I'm excited. And you looked at me when you said that with such passion and desire. We're going there. It's like, oh, okay. All right. We're going there.
I wasn't prepared for this.
All right. Yeah, so let's go there. Let's first talk through, I guess, the process itself, what goes through your brain. Because I'm interested in how you tackle it and how I used to tackle it of just, coming up with a song or writing a song and that process itself. So since I'm already talking, I would like to hear your process. Like when you sit down to start making a song, right? What are you thinking about, and what is kind of driving the choices that you're making in that song?
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. So the first thing, and this is the most important factor for this, I can't speak for everyone, but this is what works for me. There's two things in mind. One, if I am sitting in front of my computer, the first thing I'm thinking about is an emotion, a thought, a feeling, or even a picture. And I will sit there and just think about it. Like, what am I feeling today? Or what sound do I want, or what feeling or an emotion I want to capture today? So let's say, well, in my particular case, I'm in electronic and house music, which obviously is upbeat, which is at 120 BPM or higher, or if you want to go 118, you can go lower. But it's a heartbeat of moving. But yes, you're even upbeat and you're moving, you can still feel a range of emotions. So for me, I feel like as a listener to any music, the important factor is vibe and emotion. So I try to think about an emotion or a thought or a feeling or even a situation. And I'm like, how can I take someone who's right now probably at base level, just normal, calm, relaxed, and then make them feel that exact thing I want them to feel through my song. So then let's just say, for example, let's just use happy, right? So you want to have bright chords. There's certain chords which you and I will go into detail about that obviously, or certain chord progressions that obviously go into detail in explaining these feelings. So I know that, okay, I'm going to go that chord. I know I'm going to go this direction. And I just play around with different let's just say pianos. I'm obviously in a higher octave. Or if I'm, playing around with a synth or et cetera, or a pluck or a bell or whatever the case may be, I aim for something that's easy to bob your head to. That kind of gets you okay, I can really feel upbeat. I feel good. And I think that's where I always start. I start creating my tracks from start to finish by, like, I treat it like a movie, and it's weird to explain that. I believe in a build-up. I believe in getting you there, and then as you're there, everything comes together. Like, I believe in giving you the sounds piece by piece, and then it comes together all at once. And you're like, oh, these pieces fit together. And now I'm sitting in this exact emotion.
So you're using emotion that you want to showcase in the song, right? And you're kind of what's that, like, you're building suspense in your song that leads up to this certain emotion that you want to get out of that song or to portray to people,
Right?
Which is interesting. So you start by thinking about, like, what is the emotion I want to describe in this song. Now, how does that lead to the choices you make in that song? For example, like, I'm thinking of, how do you pick the instruments, or how do you pick the sounds or the samples, right? And how does that kind of, that emotion, again, how does all that kind of lead to that emotion?
Okay. So I have an example, and it's going to be interesting. So I'm going to give an example of a song that I created that is an exact feeling. So years ago, we went to this art museum in Beacon, and in the basement, it was like that weird, drone-y kind of like tech, like warehouse feeling. And I remember going there, and I was just like, oh yeah, I like this. And then a few days later, I went home and I started working on a song where I was aiming for that exact feeling, where it's like, it sounds like I'm alone, but I'm okay with that. And then I thought about that. That's how I felt in that moment. And that was like, okay, this is where I'm going to go with this track. And then when it comes to that, I think about, okay, that drone sound, I'm going to pick like either a VST, I was going to say, is a virtual instrument. And I basically would think about something that sounds very similar, or a synth that sounds dark, or a piano that's in a lower octave. So I'm going to try to replicate the same exact feeling. I may not use the same sounds or whatever, but I aim for that. So as I'm going through that beginning process, I'm like, I always check back. Does it make me feel what inspired me to start this? And that's always my baseline. I always go back there. So I always think about why I jumped into this project. And even sometimes, and I'll even be honest, sometimes I'm actually I don't have an emotion going into a project, and I'll play around with different sounds, or the piano, or a synth, or whatever, or a bass, or whatever. And then I will basically be like, okay, you know what? I think I'm going to go in this direction today. So, but for the most part, and most of my inspirational creative process, I think of something, of an emotion, or I think of a situation, or I think of a day, and I just use little, I look for sounds that sound similar, that give the same exact feeling, and then I go from there.
Got it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would agree with you a lot on what you were saying. I think there's some similarities we have in the processes, which I'll talk about in a minute when I start talking about my process. But I think it's important what you said there, of like, the choices you make is you're trying to replicate that feeling of what you experience, because you want whoever's listening to that song experience that same emotion, right? Which I think is it can be difficult sometimes making a song, because it really isn't, at least what I've found, and maybe you have a different perspective of it, but it's not always so simple, right? Like you're trying to go for either a feeling, emotion, or some kind of message you want to get through in the song. And you may think about it one way in your head, and then when you actually try and play it that way, it comes off something completely different.
Yep.
So I think my next question would be, like, when you're making your song, and you have this set emotion you're going for, and you have this idea already of like, okay, how am I going to get there? And then you try it out and it goes completely somewhere else, or it's not the sound you want. Right. So what's your process then for when things don't go how you wanted it to go? Like what moves do you make then?
Excellent question. So I have two ways how I handle that, because that happens from time to time. So let's say I was going into making a happy song or a sad song or something upbeat. And then I realize, oh, this is going in a very different direction than I originally started. Now, I ask myself two questions. Can I go in this direction right now? And if the answer is yes, then I continue. Right. Then I continue and I say, and I'm like, you know what? Let's explore that. I wasn't aiming for this exact emotion or vibe or a feeling, but you know what? We're going to go there now. And then I'll see where that road will take me. And then sometimes, let's say the first answer to the question was, no, I don't feel this direction I'm going right now. What I do is I save that project and I save it for another day. I save it for a day where I know I might feel that interest and I'm going to continue it. So I kind of have, and this is where we're going to get into the music production 101 later, is I have a weird process where sometimes I jump projects where I'll work on song 1 and I'm 30% into it. And then I'm like, I'm hitting a creative block. You know what? Save that for later. I'm going to song 2. Then song 2, I go in a different direction. Let's say I get 20% of it done. And I'm like, I'm not feeling it. But I figured out I like this sound. And wait a minute, that sound can go into project number 1. I'm going back to project number 1. And now that went from 30% to 50%. And maybe I'll get 50% to 100%. But I trust myself to be like, okay, I can continue it or I may not. So I try to measure that. So there's going to be days where I want to continue, but then I'm going to have to realize, this isn't, don't force it. Don't force creativity. That's my philosophy. Yeah. I can't speak for everyone else, but I believe in not forcing creativity. It's got to just, there's going to be days where you're going to have to literally take my laptop away from me because I can't stop creating. Right. And there's going to be days where I can't do nothing. So I have to trust my creative instincts, if you want to call it that it's going to lead me to the right direction on that day. And it's also, and it takes a little, like I said, it's a leap of faith, trusting in that you can finish that project today, or maybe you'll have you'll have the inspiration to finish it tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's a good point and I think, again, this is like some similarities I'm seeing is there have been times where we've created a song or something and it just wasn't working for whatever reason that day. It just was not hitting it. And I think you kind of put it off to the side. And the funny part about that, I'm sure this has happened with you as well, is we'll put that song off to the side. We'll start working on another song, and that song will finish much quicker. And all of a sudden,
yes, agreed.
We have now a new song that we did in 2 hours, and that other song that we're still working on for 5 days, it's not done. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, there are songs that, we had that we never finished. Mm-hmm. And they just will always be unfinished songs.
Yeah. And to piggyback off of what you just said, for every, if I'm willing to bet, for every song that you hear that I've fully created, there's at least 12 or 15 that sits around that I never finished because I couldn't finish it in that moment. But I managed to find inspiration in the second project or another project or a song, and I'm able to finish that. So I think that is, I 100% agree with you. I know that about myself.
Yeah, it's a tough, it's for some reason you just don't know. Some songs, it's just, for whatever reason, XYZ, they just don't get finished. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. Because you know what? You got to look at it. We didn't finish this song that we've been working really hard on, but we finished this other song in literally an hour or two. Mm-hmm. And we might borrow ideas from that unfinished song. And we've done that in the past, where we have this library of just songs that are unfinished. But it's you know what though? I like this part, and this part would actually go well in this song. So let's take that part and let's put it here.
Right.
So it's just, you kind of have to know, and the last band I was with towards the end, we knew each other so well that we knew like, okay, if we don't get this song going in like 3 hours, it's done. Like we're not actually going to make this song, but we're going to come up with good parts that we could use for other stuff.
Right.
So it's interesting. It is a process, and like you just kind of have to accept that there's just some stuff that may not finish, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of go into a little bit more your process. So because I know you use generally Fruity Loops, which is, for those of you that don't know, Fruity Loops is it's a production software. It has a lot of great samples. Why am I speaking? You're the expert. Like I'm trying to talk like I know.
You're going great. You're going great.
No, but it's a production software that allows to create songs on it.
Yeah,
basically. Please jump in and help me.
No, you're doing great. So I'm going to use the shorthand version. It's called a digital audio workstation, but whenever I say DAW, which is what that is, just immediately assume I'm referring to Fruity Loops, Ableton, Logic Pro, or any music production software. Everyone has a different preference in why they use that specific software. Ironically, this wasn't, my brother, I mentioned him before in the last episode. Ironically, he uses Ableton, and I think I have a general idea of how Ableton works. So I was more familiar with it. And when I was interested in starting music production myself 5 years ago, I originally was going to use Ableton. But then I remember hearing from a friend of mine. He was like, no, I've heard some good things about the UI of Fruity Loops, which is user interface, which means it's a little bit more easier to like dive in. Now, however, just like any DAW, there's a learning curve to everything. And there's always understanding where your files go, where's your channel rack, where's your mixers, where's your piano roll, and all these things. But once you've learned the ins and outs of how the software works, and obviously you start getting samples from like one shots or a vocal or VSTs, which is virtual instruments, and plugins. And once you start developing your little library of sounds, then from there, it's about where do you want to go. So for simple purposes, I'll use lo-fi hip hop as a beginner because that's what I started with. So if you're talking about lo-fi hip hop, which everyone knows about the like sleep music or study music or something just chill, helps you relax. Lo-fi hip hop is pretty much a combination of using a slower BPM, let's say 70. You can go up to 90. I would say 70 to 90 BPM.
And just so everyone knows, I don't know if you touched on it. BPM represents the speed at which a song is played. It's beats per minute.
Right.
So the higher the amount. So for example, like 120. That's like generally a marching type song, so you have understanding what that means. The lower the number means the slower the song.
Correct. And thank you for bringing that up. Exactly, because my mind forgot to explain that to everyone. Not everyone has this information in their head. I'm sorry. That was a mistake on my part. So you want to start at a slower BPM because it's more of, let's say R&B, hip hop, lo-fi, they're in the range, but lo-fi, it's more also about how it's structured. So it is in a slower BPM within that range, and that range alone can also be hip hop, R&B, and hip hop. I also say reggae too, but I would say but it's all about how it's structured. So lo-fi, for example, let's say a piano, and let's just use the intro music that you hear. It's at a slower pace. I went 4 bars. I just went like rising and then maybe a little variation. But the point is you want it to sound a little old or a little dated or a little faded, a little gritty. Not gritty. That's not a term I would use. A little bit more like old school. So it seems more nostalgic. So it gives more of a nostalgic feeling. Now that you're in a nostalgic feeling, how can I feel upbeat in this nostalgic feeling? That's where the drums come in. And then you want to space them out. you just want to have a simple kick, start on 8 first, and then variations on after that. And the snare, I believe, is after every 4. So if I remember, I'm sorry, I'm thinking.
So for those of us, Pat's going into a little music world there.
Sorry, I was a little technical. I didn't.
No, it's
I'm
great.
sorry.
It's great.
I'm visualizing.
It's great. He's talking about just where the beats will land in certain aspects of the song.
Right.
So I think you were talking about the snare drum. Depending on the type of music, so if we're talking pop, rock, the snare drum will usually always play on the 2nd and 4th beat.
Thank you. Yes, that's right.
But yeah, so I think my question and where I wanted to kind of go with that is just so Fruity, because like you said, there's a ton of different types of software out there.
Yes,
like Logic, Pro Tools, all these DAWs, if you will, and I will. But it's so. Why did you go with the Fruity Loops? Why did I say the Fruity Loops?
The Fruity Loops sounds so prestigious.
90-year-old man. The Facebooks. No,
the Facebook. Yeah, you're on the Facebooks.
So why did you go with Fruity Loops over everything else? I know you talked a little bit about it. Like it is simplicity at first.
Yes,
but there was a learning curve to it.
So Fruity Loops was originally designed for beat making, and I actually learned that recently. And it was originally because when I jumped into it, I wanted to create music, and I wanted to work with hip hop artists, singers, et cetera, and then go from there. So I heard that was the UI and the interface was best for that. So I was like, okay, let me give it a shot. And eventually I learned it's much more complicated. So I wanted to stand out, but at the same time, I knew that was I needed something that was going to make it an easier process for me to learn. Then I realized it doesn't matter. There's still a learning curve. You have to learn that first you have to understand the mechanics of the software. Then you have to understand the genre that you're going to be working, or genres. And then you have to understand, okay, what are the limitations and what are the I guess flexibilities of such genres. So like I said, I'm just going to keep using lo-fi as an example because that's where I started with. When you start with lo-fi, you learn that it can transition very quickly into R&B if you do it right. So then I started realizing that music and everything can have, it doesn't have these thick barriers. They have more thin. And if you know what you're doing, you can really hit a lot of targets. Like if I wanted to make something sound like a lo-fi R&B singer, I can jump on that. But going back to what I said about loops are samples, if you want to say. Let's say a guitar. And a guitar played, I'm sorry, I don't want to get too technical, but you can say it's a guitar played at, let's say, 80 BPM, 80 beats per minute. Then you have just like, let's say it's in C major, which, everyone kind of likes. It's friendly, it's upbeat, et cetera, but then also depends how it's played. But then you have, that's what a loop is. It's a sample. Now, granted, it is useful to use samples, and it's been prevalent in lo-fi, hip-hop, R&B, et cetera, but it's important to understand that you should always develop your own sound. So I didn't want to sound like the next guy. I didn't want to sound like anyone. I wanted to be my own person. And that's why but you always have to start with what you know. And obviously inspirations from people you know, people you've heard, things like that. And then from there, bridge into your own direction.
Got it. Yeah. And so it's like Fruity Loops is just, you grew up with that, or your inspiration, like your brother kind of worked with that, your family kind of worked with that. So you knew Fruity Loops in a sense.
Sure.
Okay. And I guess, because I do remember even in high school, people were talking about Fruity Loops, but it was much more basic back then. It was literally just like, you can make some beats on this thing, and it had like some record features, but that was it.
Yeah.
And now, like what you showed me now on this thing, it's like a full recording suite. It's a production software, like 100%. So I guess kind of going from there, because you have worked with some like artists or like singers.
Some.
So I guess because my question here, because this might tie into something later, is how do you then work with an artist, like a singer, let's say, in terms of their vocal style, vocal range, and then creating a song with them or for them? If that makes sense.
That's a great question. So in music production, there's a thing called reference tracks. People say if you're ever going to, and it was a good advice that I've learned, is if you're trying to make something or you're trying to go in that direction and you're struggling, look for reference tracks. Reference tracks are tracks that are already made, songs that you already know, that already exist in the world. So if you want to learn, understand, and this is where it's very important. Let's just say it's a track that is in R&B, right? Let's say Usher. I'm just going to use Usher for some reason. When you use like I want to hear a song like Confessions by Usher, right? And if someone says, like an artist, an R&B artist, whether it doesn't matter, they're like, hey, I'm trying to make a R&B song that is of exact kind of similar to this. This is the direction I'm trying to go into. Then I'm like, okay, give me a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to listen for stuff that are similar in that field.
So when you say like, give me a little bit, are you like
time? Yeah.
Perform for me a little bit.
Like,
to listen to them.
If let's just say they didn't have anything recorded at all. Let's say they didn't have any vocals. It was just like an idea they have. Right. They didn't even write any lyrics or whatever. But if they have lyrics, that's even better. But because it'll point me a little bit closer to the direction. But once they give me like, hey, there's a track I'm working on, or there's a song, an idea I have, or lyrics. And if they have lyrics, that'd be fantastic. But I always ask, what is the direction you're aiming for? Okay. And if there is, I'm like, give me an artist or something similar, just so I can have an idea of what you're referring to. Yes, that's where reference tracks come in. So I'll listen to, let's just say like I'm just using Usher Confessions, for example. I will go then listen to it, and then I'm going to go look for something similar. And then I'm like, okay, I know what they're trying to do. Mm-hmm. Then I'm like, I'm going to create 2 or 3 examples of samples. Yeah. Sample tracks. Sample tracks are just unfinished tracks that I'm going to create. I'll create project 1, 2, project 3, and then I'm going to send it to them. I'm like, okay, which one of these 3 projects is what you're thinking or what you're feeling? Right. And if they say, oh, project 2, that's it, we'll build from there. And then I'm like, okay, any specific instruments? Is there a specific sound, or is there anything you want? So I can know. And they're like, no, just build up on that. Let's just say that. Or, hey, here's some lyrics, or like, here's some like singing. And they'll send me like an audio track or whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm listening. Oh, okay. I see where they're trying to go. And then I'm like, give me a little bit. And whether it be a day or 2 or a week. And then I'm like, and I always stay in communication because it's consistent communication with them. And I'm like, here you go. Is this in the direction you're going with? Let's just say, yes, that's it. Finalize it. I'm like, cool, it's done. Boom, here you go. And I'll finalize it, and I'll always ask, is there any input that you want? Because mind you, this is yours.
It's there.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, and then we'll agree, like, okay, this is exactly it. This is 100% where I'm going with that track. I get it done for them. And then we'll obviously discuss pricing, and then and I'll always enter agreement with them if there ever is a problem with the project where it's you have second thoughts, or you know what, hey, can you swap that out? Can you put this in, or can you add that over an intro out? I'm like, call me, text me, whatever, email, it doesn't matter. Wow. Hit me up and give me exactly what it is. And if you even have a key exact point where in the track I've created, like at minute 30, can you swap that out? Cool. Give me a little bit.
And that's service, folks, because a lot of producers, like, they don't do that once they're finished. Yeah. Like I remember when we recorded an album, and there was something like we didn't like the way it sounded. It was a guitar sound. But we finished recording, and the producer finished mastering. Right. Like, he finished everything. Everything's done. There was no going back. Like, that was it. and unfortunately, our friend JJ is a music producer, and he has a lot of experience with this. He was able to get the individual files, and he did it himself, and was able to kind of fix what we wanted or change the sound. Mm-hmm. But if we didn't know JJ or didn't have that, it would have been it.
Right, and what I'm about to say right now might ruffle some feathers because it's going to piggyback off what you're saying.
Episode 2, or
all right.
I like it.
So that's where it's the difference between beat makers and producers. Right there, what you just said. The difference is a beat maker is like, that's the final product, pay it, and that's it. Whatever. Like, they might take in some suggestions, but they'll just like, that's what it is. And it's not my place to judge them. It's not what I do.
No, yeah.
Because I enjoy the challenge of it all. I enjoy chasing not say chasing perfection, but chasing emotion, and I think that separates us separates producers and beat makers. This is no disrespect and no shot at beat makers, but producers are I think have more of a collaborative effort. Mm-hmm. And I think that is a very important factor. To me, I thrive off of not say challenge, but like I said, any closer to replicating that exact feeling, vibe, or emotion, I want it. I'm chasing it. I can't help it. I want to chase it.
And I think there's similar. Like, there's nothing against people who stand to that point and are like, no, I already did my work.
Yeah,
I'm done.
And I get that.
Because it's like you're paying for this person's time to work on this track to get it to the point you want it.
Right.
So if you already finished paying them up front all the money, and you're now telling them, I don't like this part right here, can we change that? I understand if they say no, because it's now I have to go back and put in more hours again to fix whatever this part is.
Right.
But I also see at the same time, it's like, I want to make sure what I'm giving you, the product I give you, is what you want.
Right. And
so it's like a kind of give and take.
Right. So to defend the beat makers, if you want to say this, is like, for example, for producing, let's just say what I do. You have to first have a laptop. Then you have to have the software. Then you have to have the programming, samples, one-shots, virtual instruments, etc., which costs everything I just listed costs money. So then, if you want to go any further, you're going to have an Akai keyboard, not Akai keyboard, that's what I use. But if you want to have like a keyboard extension tool, then you have to get that. Then you have to spend hours honing in all of the things I just listed. And you're already banking, I don't know what the monetary value I put in so far, but I would imagine it's past 1,000.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, I would imagine it is. Yeah. It's actually probably past
$2,000,
if I'm being honest. But I don't think about it because I love what I do. I will consistently, granted, obviously, sure, it'd be great if I get a return, but I'm more concerned with the culture of it all.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really affect me. But regarding beat makers, you spent all this, let's just you spent $2,000 or, whatever on all this like hardware and software. And then you developed a skill set in this specific genre. And then you created like project 1 through 10, and you put heart and soul and, time and effort into each one of those things. And then you release it to the public as hey, I'm selling these tracks or whatever the case may be. And you're like, track 5. Yeah, I'm not changing it. That's what it is. Yeah. And the price tag, no. And I will say, okay, please go on.
I was about to come in. No, because I've also heard though they will go back and do it for an additional price.
Yes, or the price goes up. Yeah, That's fair. I personally don't, because what I try to do, and I've only worked with a few. What I try to do is I'm more interested in the relationship.
Yeah,
I'm not interested in just getting that song sold. I'm thinking about, I hope my work on that song inspires them with, I want to do another project or another album. I might reach out to Pat again for
they're going to come
instead
back to
of one track, maybe I'll ask for him to do 2.
They'll come back to you. But also on top of that, it's like, if that album or song, whatever, does really well, other people in here and be like, who produced that?
Right. And
who do I need to go see?
Right. Word of mouth plays a factor.
Yeah.
And I can't express to anyone if I can't speak for everyone regarding music, but I think the most important element is your reputation and your
100%.
Yeah, like your
100%.
ability to be, I say accommodating. Yes, sure, it'll be annoying. There's been times where I kid you not, I remember, I'm not gonna say all this person that created a headache for me one time. I'm not gonna put them on blast because I have a few, but this one really irritated me, and it's like because I'm already such a like, hey, yeah, like let me know, and I sent this person like 5 different sample tracks. Exactly in the feeling that they were, and they're like, "Oh no, I kind of like I don't like any of those." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." Then I'll send another 3.
Yeah.
And then they're like, "I don't know, I like one the newest ones, but can we can we change that?" I'm like, "Sure." I'm trying to be as like flexible as I can be, and it's not even for like hundreds of dollars or whatever the case may be. And they're like, "Yeah, you know what? I like that track, but can we negotiate on the price?" And I'm just like, time out. I already probably wasted like a week going back and forth.
Like, we're done.
Yeah, like, no.
That is the price.
Yeah, like, now at that point, I understand why beat makers hold the line that they hold. Yeah. I understand that from that perspective. But that's why for me, and I know this sounds disrespectful, but that's why I think 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago, I made a transition where I'm going to be the artist, which is why I'm the person. But it doesn't mean I still like the collaborative effort. If someone still reaches out to me, hey, I have an R&B song or whatever, I'll still do that. It's not really, the skill set is still there.
Right.
But I made a transition like, you know what? I'm the product. I'm sorry, I'm the artist, should I say, not the product. But a part of me still misses the collaborative effort, but I do understand why beat makers may hold the line where like, no, that's it. I get it.
It's because now you're the art, but now it's you. You're making music yourself.
Right.
And like, you're your own client.
Yes.
Right. So it's
exactly.
Like, you know what to expect from you.
Yes. Right.
But no, and it makes sense. It's a big process.
Yeah.
But I think how you've talked about it through the software you chose, the inspiration and how you work with clients, and how you even tackle the process of, I think of emotions first, or I want to get a gauge of what is this person trying to convey. Let me go from there before, because I've heard other producers, they just go right at like, here's a bunch of instruments and here's an arrangement I made. You make a song around what I did. It's like the complete opposite.
Yeah.
So
I get that.
It really is an interesting process. So yeah, I think that was good to dive into. But I'm actually now that we've established my weird, unorthodox not weird at all.
view of music production and whatnot, I'm interested to learn about how do you, in your experience with making songs and everything, what would you say was, okay, let's just say you're literally just walking in, your drum set there, everybody's walking in, and now you got the sticks in your hand.
Drum set's just over there.
And you sit down on your seat. Do you ever have like a specific idea? The moment you sit there and you pick up the sticks, is there a specific idea that's in your mind for that day in terms of creative process?
No.
Really?
No.
Blank slate.
So it's usually when we would make a new song, it's interesting. Like, as a drummer, just practicing a lot, you develop a vocabulary of rhythms, and different types of grooves that you just learn and you have. It's in like your brain. You know what it is, and that comes from practice. But to make a song, in terms of like the drummer aspect, and this is where like collaboration is important in a band, right? Because whatever I play, that's not the song. That's a part of the song. But my role as the drummer, primarily, is to make sure the band is tight. So I'm like the band's engine, I would call it. But also transitions are clean.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're changing the feel of the song, time signature, I have to make sure that I know that ahead of time and know when that change is coming up. Because if I mess it up, that's going to mess up the whole band. So I always looked at it or approached it as I would usually let the guitar player or the singer, if they have a melody already in mind, I want to hear that. So I listened to that first a few times, and then I kind of developed my own groove. I usually come up, how I structured my head was like, let me make a groove first, because that's what's going to be played most.
Okay.
Right? So let's think of the groove. Like, what is that going to be? And then, are there any changes that happen in the song in terms of like time, tempo? Where is that? And how am I going to, because the drummer, you kind of lead that change for the rest of the band.
Right.
Because if you're not doing it, no one else is going to do it.
Right.
So it's like when I was younger, I would actually like literally write down stuff and be like, this part's coming up here. This part comes up here. But as I grew and kind of got used to the bands I worked with, I knew when these parts were going to come up just naturally. Like you could feel it. So it was more of, I guess, a organized, strategic way of kind of attacking like how to make a song. Like other people would make the melodies and the harmony, right? And I would kind of be back there, usually with the bass player, and just listening and trying to figure out what's the groove of the song they're trying to think of. Make a beat to follow it.
Right.
And then if I have little parts of like either drum solo or what they would call hits, which are like accented pieces or parts in the song, I always made sure that my bass player knew where that was, because we have to be in sync. Bass and drums are like need to be together at all times.
I agree, 100%.
So that was kind of how I would go through it. It would really be just a structured way of approaching it, more than anything.
Yeah, I actually have a side note question for you. Speaking, you mentioned something about drums tend to be the engine of a song. Do you think that about a genre? So when you're talking about drums as like, let's say pop or rock or whatever the case may be, do you think the drums decide the genre? Do you think without the right drums, the genre kind of, I don't say the genre, but the song that the song that tries to be in that genre, do you think it can't work unless that drums 100% decides that first?
That's a tough question. I think yes and no. So there's I think with certain genres, there are certain guidelines to what drums should do. But again, music is, you can do what you want, but I think there's certain parameters. And I think that drums control a lot of the tempo, the time change, the feel, right? Where guitars, vocals control a lot of the, like, you know, control the vocals, control the emotion, harmony, parts of the song.
Sure.
So yes and no. I think for certain songs, like if I'm playing a pop punk song, which is generally a pretty fast tempo, if I start playing it slow and they're all playing, you know, pop punk chords and things, it's going to sound probably strange at first. It's not going to work. So I think there are certain rules that if you're trying to play a certain genre, you have to follow.
Yes.
Just regardless. But I think it's very basic stuff of like, okay, we're going to play a punk song. It should probably be fast.
Right.
And that's like probably the biggest rule. Everything else is up to you.
Right.
We're playing I don't know, acoustic type song. Generally should be slower and not as loud, because you have guitars that are playing acoustic stuff. So they're not going to be loud.
Right.
But I think that's really it. It doesn't need to be more complicated than that. I think that's generally the rules I try to follow.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you on a production level that I've learned that you're right. Genres, first off, you have to acknowledge that there are a set of rules, but you have to first learn the rules, but then you learn that there is flexibility within them. So like, for example, I don't have to explain to you that, like there's certain, like, let's just say pop, like if you're playing like, some drums on a pop record, and then someone says, hey, can you play something like from a punk band from the 80s? There might be some overlap to some degree.
Yeah, there's definitely like certain beats, certain grooves that are the same from like an 80s band to today. Like it's the same thing.
Yeah.
There's only, I mean, I was going to say, I am going to say it. There's only certain things you can really do. Like
right.
There's certain grooves that just always work.
Right.
Like if I'm playing jazz, I'm not going to play like a hard, like I'm not going to be loud. Like that just doesn't make sense, right?
No, of course not.
So there's just always certain things that work.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of, and there's a lot of people that will purposely play like a certain beat from a song they know to give it, honor that artist.
Right.
Right. So yeah, there's definitely overlap. And I think that's intentional in music to why that happens.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that one.
So we talked a lot. It's a long episode.
Sorry.
No, it's good. I think it's great. We talked a lot about, the process of how we both kind of approach creating music. And a lot of what I heard you say, again, I think we share in common of taking ideas, like for example, when you're working with an artist, like what are you trying to go for? Like what is that emotion? What is the message? Whatever it is. It's a similar approach when you're working with a band of like, okay, you have this melody line here, but what are you trying to do with that?
Right.
Like what is the emotion there? Because that does influence, well, how am I going to play? Like if this melody line is, you're trying to go for something that's, there's a deeper meaning behind it, or it's like a soft, slow kind of melody, I'm not going to play hard as hell on the drums. That doesn't make sense.
Right.
So there is overlap, I think, in the production world, live music. But I think to tie it all back together, how do you see? This is a tough question. I don't think we prepped for this question.
Oh, please! I love curveballs.
How do you see live music and production kind of interplaying the future of music?
In terms of like going forward right now?
Correct.
It's interesting. Okay, I have to let that marinate. I think I can definitely say on production music going forward, which we will talk about in a future topic, how I feel about people using AI as a reference tool, and that will absolutely be something that I will have a lot to say on, because in my opinion, it doesn't belong, because it robs humanity. But I think it's important to understand that going forward, I like to think that people that listen to music today, I think people underestimate the audience. I think, and I have belief in the audience can recognize certain sounds, can recognize what either a band or an artist or a producer is trying to aim for. And I would like to think that, like I said, my only concern is that there's people trying to push this tool that is going to, I think, and they're trying to sell it as it'll make things easier. And what I'm concerned about is it robs the musical journey that could be for whether a listener or a artist or a band. Is like, don't do that. Which like I don't want to get too deep.
This is literally gonna be a whole episode.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying not to. Yeah.
To your point, going back on our previous episode, I think it's taking away from that journey, because you as a musician, you learn by failing.
Correct.
Right? And AI, not that it doesn't fail per se, but it will do what you want exactly. So if you have a good prompt, you're not the one learning there. You're not the one playing. AI is.
Right.
And then it just comes up with the song. It's taking away that value of you as the person conveying this music.
Correct.
And instead you have this algorithm essentially just creating it for you.
Right.
So, and I don't want to get too deep into that, because I think that's going to be a long episode.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to pick my words carefully.
But I get what you're saying. It certainly takes away that human aspect, which at that point, what are we doing?
Right. And
what's the point?
And it's not on some like I'm trying to cling to a view that everyone has to go through the same process as I do, or you, or anyone else. I think there should be a process. That's my whole concern.
No, absolutely.
And it's like I said, it's like developing your own sound. So as a drummer, you have your way of doing things. As a producer, I have my way of doing things. And I think it's important to protect that, because it's what makes you is what makes me, and that makes us human. And like I said, I'm trying not to say all the things that I want to say, but it's important to not lose sight of that, is that musical expression is a representation of the human spirit. Take your pick in what direction you want to go. For me, and I think I don't know if I can speak for you too. I think that's something I'm willing to die on that hill for. And because that expression growing up, whether for me, listening to all kinds of music, 70s has always been my biggest source of inspiration. And all of these beautiful sounds and all these people that laid the foundation for the music that we appreciate. And the same thing for the 80s and the ones before that. I don't want that to go in vain.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, this was quite the episode.
Oh, sorry.
It went on and I'm glad it went on.
Yeah.
That was, we didn't even get to all the things.
No.
And that's fine. That could be another episode. So this is great. And stay tuned for our next episode. Thank you for listening to today's episode. We would love to hear from you.
If you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please email us at musicmusingspodcast@gmail.com.
If you would also like to submit your own idea for an intro or outro that we can use and play on one of our next episodes, please submit them to musicmusingspodcast@gmail.com.